Well, hello, Americans and Patriots. How you doing? Well, I've seen something here in my home state of New York that I thought I would never ever see. Right now, New York State correction officers are striking without union authorization in many parts of the state. Now you say, well, people strike all the time. Well, in New York, we have this thing called the Taylor Law. And this came from the 1970s when the NYPD, the FDNY, the sanitation, the Treasury Workers Union all went on strike together. And what it did was they penalized you 2 days' pay for every 1 day you work. Now, why are they striking? They're at 70% staff levels throughout their state. 70%, that means they're down 30%. And the state is in such denial and doesn't care that they said the 70 is basically the 70%, new 70% is to do 100%. And as a result, you have people who are now getting mandated to do triple shifts. That's right, triple shifts. 24 hours and you're expected to stay awake. To the point where some people are getting NOD. What's an NOD? Notice of discipline for refusing to work a triple. Now, back when these levels were at 100%, the only time that ever happened was basically during snowstorms. People were calling sick to work, kids off from school. And even then, what a lot of the jails would do, they would set up cots and toiletries for officers to shower inside like the courtroom, or there's usually a building outside the walls of a jail we call the QWL. It's basically a train center room where they set up cots and they have there's bathrooms out there. The union generally buys food for officers, or the jail will do it. But these people are expected to work at 24, go commute home, and then come back to work to do another double if you're not mandated to do a triple. Now, why is this happening? Something called the HALT legislation, H-A-L-T. Basically, it is the correctional bail reform of the jail system. The way we've had bail reform in New York State, where everyone's let out, no matter what, unless you commit a real heinous crime. If an inmate does something terrible inside the jail system, they're not reprimanded anyway. So the jails have become unsafe to work at. It's not even sustainable for one's physical, mental, spiritual, emotional health to work in these places anymore. Don't get me wrong, it's a jail. They're tough to work out when things were good. But now we're seeing stuff in New York State we've never seen before. People who are halfway through just quitting. Now, why is that a big deal? Because the way the pension system works is you're vested after 10 years, but you cannot collect until you're 55 if you do that. And you take a penalty for it. This was unheard of just 5 years ago. But things have gotten so bad in New York State being a badge, because you no longer a badge, you're a bullseye, that people are flat out leaving the middle of their career and going to another state. Or they're taking a pay cut and going to another department because they want to have a home life again. The second thing they did was they messed the pension system. These guys come in and are now considered Tier 6. And Tier 6 does not allow you to use your overtime to build your pension. Now, they do have what they call a 403B that you can invest into, and you can do an IRA through the credit union of that area, but it's not the same, and it's made the job very less desirable. Those two things right now are what killing the state. in the Department of Corrections. And as we saw, Hochul used an incident in Upper Marcy Correctional where she called for the direct firing of 15 employees for something that happened up there. Now, after seeing the video of what happened, yeah, it's bad. And I cannot make any excuse for him. But there's a lot to that story also. A lot of paperwork that I'm missing from that incident. That inmate was transferred over from one jail to another, and there's no record of any transfer happening. And that inmate was beaten up in another jail by several inmates. So even though the inmate might have died in that officer's custody, they're not going to be able to prove whether it was them that did the damage or the 11 inmates that beat this guy up. But officers have been getting assaulted left and right, and Hochul has been a no-show. Neither was Cuomo when this whole legislation started. And now I'm seeing correctional officers on strike. That has not happened since 1979. And that was over seniority. Right now, this is just flat-out dangerous working conditions. And Hochul and the administration that set this ridiculous system up, with Cuomo's help, has made it unsustainable from the work. And they don't want to address that. There are officers getting beat up left and right. Not a word from Hochul about how dangerous the prisons are. But you'll see when an officer does something wrong to an inmate, they'll know these guys left and right. Don't get me wrong. A jail, a correctional facility needs law and order. And you need to be professional. But when you provoke your staff the way you are, and people lash out and there's frustration, I'm sorry, Hochul, there's a lot of blood in your hands, as well as the New York State legislation. Now, the straw that broke the camel's back was there was a riot up in Collins, to the point where inmates took over 2 dorms, and CERT teams were called in to take action. What are CERT teams? They're basically correctional SWAT teams. And the state has been quiet on that, but have no problem throwing the Marcy incident in the media's eyes. So basically what Hochul's trying to do is punish the officers for her failures. Failure the staff, the pension system, and the Holt legislation, which is all on them. And I'm seeing officers not just strike, but they're outside picketing. Let the public know what's going on. And why is that dangerous? Do you want a jail break or a correctional facility break in that neighborhood you live in? I don't care if it's in Collins Correctional, Fishkill Correctional, Attica, Clinton, you name it. Morale is so low. It's scary. And still, Hochul is silent. The trans governor. I'm telling you, I've been saying Hochul's not going to last a term, or corruption's going to bring her down. I don't know how it's going to happen. This could be it. I don't know. But Hochul, I'm looking forward to the day when you're thrown out. And as far as your buddy Antonio Delgado, Lieutenant Governor, we'll make sure to vote his ass out once we get the voter rolls in the state cleaned up. Comments down below. What's your opinion? Like to know. Like and subscribe. And we'll talk to you later.